Well, hello! Welcome back to Talking Nonsense. My name is Rache. Today, it is episode 14 and the finale of 2023. That is maybe the craziest sentence I've said all year. That it's the end of the year, you know? If you're watching the video podcast on YouTube, you can see my new mug that I got for Christmas this year. It is this troll face. He's got a little bee on his nose and he's got these stripy horns. The handle is actually his tail and he's got this like honeycomb pattern on him and I think he's wonderful and I love him dearly. I'm having a lavender latte this morning. Because it is the morning. This is the first thing I'm doing today is catching up with you, discussing 2023 as a year and my goals for 2024. Very on the nose episode. I feel like most people who have podcasts or YouTube channels or, you know, are online and share their lives online or whatever are doing things like this. I'm not going to say that you shouldn't, because here I am doing it. That would be kind of weird for me to say. But, for a long time I was kind of annoyed this time of year when everyone I was following was talking about their reflections on the past year. And I'm like, I just want to see something funny. I'm here to watch something funny, not to reflect. But I've been making more of an effort to actually think about the things that I've done recently, the things that I plan on doing in the future. I don't know. I think I've always just been afraid of change. Maybe that's why the New Year has always been terrifying for me, but doesn't feel as scary this time, which is wonderful. So, welcome to episode 14. That is what we're going to be talking about today, as I drink from this troll cup. I have actually made 2 different lists. Shout out to everyone who's like, you should really have a list when you're doing videos like this, because you tend to ramble. Yeah, I know. I do. So we have my 2023 outline and then my goals for 2024. We're going to start with reflecting on the past year, because this year has been chaotic. This year felt very similar to 2020 for me. 2020 was a mess. I left college that year. I was going through some really tough mental health stuff. The pandemic was happening. It was a rough year for everybody, but I was very grateful in that 2021 and 2022 were really amazing years. So this year was really testing me. It was reminding me that not everything is going to go right, because 2021, 2022, everything was going relatively right. So I'm going to be touching on some of the good, some of the bad, and some of the ugly. It was sitting right there. I could not say it. Okay. So January. Flashback to January of 2023. I was still working in esports at the time. And I was attending my very first World Championships in the esport that I worked in. And it was such a bittersweet experience because I wanted to go so bad for so many years and I was finally going. So that was really exciting. I was going to meet so many people that I admired and respected and was friends with in person for the first time. I was going to meet my staff in person for the first time. It was very exciting. But there was also this underlying layer of anxiety and depression because I also was working that event. And I'm not gonna lie, I did some really great work that weekend. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. But I knew that was gonna be my last event that I was working, because I knew going into 2023 that I was going to be leaving that job. And I talked about this in the second episode of this podcast where I talked about my esports career. So I'm not going to get too into it, but it was a bittersweet month knowing that I was quitting, and the whole event was kind of emotional for that reason. And yeah. So we started off with a bang, that's for sure. In February, I officially left esports and I joined the insurance industry. I'm shrugging if you're listening audio only. I don't know why I did that. I think I had convinced myself I needed more stability, and an industry like that felt more stable than what I was doing. So I joined the insurance industry, and I was studying for my insurance license, and I ended up getting my insurance license at the end of February. And then flash forward to March, I started training, and then I was put in the call center on my own, and I had a complete mental breakdown. And when I say complete mental breakdown, I'm not exaggerating. I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating. I felt no motivation for anything anymore. I was a shell. It was bad. It was really bad. And the only way that I felt I could get out of it was to leave. So I ended up quitting. I was only there for just over a month. Yeah, we now know that call centers are not for Rache. They're not for Rache at all. She can't handle just sitting and waiting for the phone to ring. It's, not great. So that was awesome. My mental health was in the toilet by the end of March. It was my sister's birthday in March. Shout out to my sister. I know she'll yell at me if I don't mention that her birthday was in March. She'll be like, so I listened to your podcast and you never talked about me. Sorry. There we go. Her birthday's in March. So left insurance, mental health in the toilet, and I remained unemployed for exactly 1 month, because in April, exactly 1 month later, I got a new job in a bakery. And you've heard about my baking job, at least a little bit, so I won't bore you with the baking stuff. FML by 17 was released in April as well, and it's so good. Still one of my favorite albums they've ever released. It's so good. So April was feeling a lot better. The end of April was a lot better, because I think it was the 21st of April or something I started that job. And I was unemployed still. I had no motivation to really do anything creative, which was very weird for me. I used to crochet daily. I used to paint. I used to read a lot. I would do puzzles all the time, play video games. I couldn't do anything. I felt so lost while I was job hunting, and it was the first time I had ever felt that way. And maybe that's very privileged of me to say, but it happens. Okay, I needed the break. As much as it was difficult financially and emotionally to not have a job and to know that I don't have a job, and the implications of that, it was also very necessary, I think, for me to have that break to fix my mental health. I feel like if I jumped from a horrible working environment for me personally, it's not that the workplace was bad or anything like that. It was not the right fit for me. If I went from that straight into another job, I wouldn't have had the time that I needed to recover from that. It took weeks to start sleeping regularly, eating regularly. It was a lot. It was a lot of healing. But we came out on the other side swinging because we started baking. The creativity came back. It was lovely. Then May comes along and we had a very unfortunate, shocking, surprising passing in our family, which I won't go into too much because I don't want to. And we're trying to keep this a little bit more positive. So that was really difficult for me and my family. And then right after that event happened, I went on a camping trip and I spent a lot of time outside and it was really sunny, and I felt like I also needed that trip, especially after that event. I needed that trip to kind of, recenter. I read one of my favorite books that month. It's behind me. It's called The Roughest Draft. It's a romance novel and it is so good. I read that book that month on that trip. And it was amazing. Cut to June. I turned 24, which is the only thing I have written down for June because it's the only thing of importance that happened that month. That month was I'm going to work, but I also turned 24. I think, I was right. July comes around, we get our chickens, our lovely little babies. They're roaming around the backyard as I speak, having a wonderful time out there. And I also started working at the cafe that I work at now. So by July, I was working 2 jobs. So August begins. We start the podcast, of course. Hi, hello. Still working 2 jobs. Nothing very exciting. September, I started school, which we remember the school episodes. We remember the school episodes. What was the first school episode? Episode 6? Was that it? Let's look. Let's check. Was it episode 6? Place your bets now on which episode was the first that I talked about school. If I can find my own podcast. Okay, here we go. Oh, no. Episode 4. Just kidding. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those were all school-related episodes. Wow, she has range. She talks about the same thing for 4 episodes straight. Anyways, started school. I went crazy with my schoolwork and getting into a study routine. I'm still working on getting into a study routine, and thankfully I am returning to school next semester, which we'll get into. But October comes around, 17 releases 17th Heaven, chef's kiss of an album, and I also quit my baking job because I had some horrible physical injury. I mean, okay, I say horrible. It wasn't that bad. It sadly is more normal for me than it should be, but I dislocated my right shoulder, my right elbow, and my right wrist. I also tore something in my elbow, and I was in a sling for a little while. It was wrapped up for weeks. Thankfully it's a little bit better now. I recently, over the last couple days, it may just because of holiday stress and stuff, but my elbow does feel extremely sore again. It's re-tearing, but fingers crossed, it's just from stress. So because of that injury, I quit my baking job because it just was not safe for me anymore. So I was back to working a single job. I'm still working that job as we speak. November comes around. The month I was so nervous about. All of autumn. So from August to December, the month that I was the most worried about was November. And thinking back to it at the end of December now, yeah, November sucked. November sucked. On my Instagram this year, I did a thing where instead of posting randomly, I would post like a photo dump at the end of every month, and with some highlights from that year, or from that month, exactly. So my November one is a lot of me being in the library. Oh, I almost forgot. I went and saw Colin Mockery live. If you don't know who Colin Mockery is, he's a Canadian improv comic, most famous for being on Whose Line Is It Anyway? I went and saw him live in my town, which was so funny and so awesome. It was so good. That would probably be my main highlight from October. I should have used my Instagram to pick what happened, because I went off of memory for this. Yeah, October, did I have anything? Our chicken started laying eggs in October. But yeah, quite fun. Yes, indeed. Now, November, why was it so chaotic? I was finishing my research paper. The research paper that I was talking so much about on the podcast, I was talking so much about in real life. It took up a majority of my time. I think I talked about it already in an episode, but I did okay. I don't remember what my grade was. Should we check? Do I have it? Did I delete it? I got 78%, which is pretty good. It's almost an A. It's like 2% off an A, which is annoying. But I did get a little bit too much tunnel vision, which is my fault. I knew that would happen. I wasn't very smart about it. It was risky, but it's fine. I know that for next time. I know that for next semester, if I get into this class. I finished my research paper, and once I finished my paper, I forgot what my life was. Like, it was something that took over my life for so long that I just forgot everything else. Finally, December, current month, I refound my favorite hobbies. I started crocheting again recently. I started reading again. I read one of my favorite books of the year, which is also behind me, When My Heart Joins the Thousand by A.J. Steiger. I talked about that recently. 5 stars. So good. And, I've taken the last couple days, the last week or so that I've been off of work for the holidays to reflect on this year and think about the things that I did, and not thinking about how I could have done them differently. I'm not focusing on that because there's no point. There's really no point in doing that. You can't go back and fix it. Why bother? But I've been thinking a lot about what I want to do next year and the goals that I have in place. And the goals that I have are as follows. And this might be shocking to some people in my life that are like, those are your goals. Who are you? So number 1, I want to learn how to roller skate. 2 years ago, I bought roller skates, and I still haven't properly learned how to use them. There is an event in the spring during the lacrosse season where a local rec center like hosts roller skate evenings where you can go, and no matter your skill level, you can go and skate around the lacrosse rink. Would it be a rink? What do you call that? Lacrosse court? Because they just like cover, they like remove the ice from the hockey arena and then they fill it, you know? So I want to go and do that this year. I also want to get into running. So I returned to the gym the other day. I mean, I'm feeling kind of sick yesterday and today, so I haven't gone to the gym, but I went back to the gym the other day and I was like, you know what? I need to start running because I've always wanted to run, but I have such a fear of it because I think it's going to be difficult. And of course I think it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult at first, but then you keep going. So I've been learning a lot of like running tips, like getting into running and, you know, how the best way to like set your pace or fucking whatever. So I want to start running. I also want to prioritize hiking again. I want to go on at least one hike a month, one different hike a month. I want to properly learn how to tend to my garden. I was talking to my boyfriend about this last night. We were sharing our goals for next year, and I was saying how one of mine was to properly take care of our garden, because I don't know really anything about gardening, and one thing that I've learned recently that I really don't know is the proper time to plant specific things. Like you could ask me what is a summer harvest and I don't know. I don't know. I know I grew some. Do I know that was right? No. So, during the winter months, I'm going to start researching and stuff and get that in here. I might take a Skillshare course or something about gardening. We'll see. Next is my number one. These aren't really in any order, but my very first goal that I made for next year is that I want to read 20 novels. If you can see behind me, this little stack right here, these are all of the novels that I got for Christmas this year. So I have The Bee Sting by Paul Murray, which is like my most anticipated read for the year. This was nominated for it was shortlisted, for the Booker Prize this year. Then I have The Cleric Quintet. Is that what it's called? It's 5 books in one. And it's set in the Dungeons & Dragons universe, I believe. And then Homo Deus, is that how you pronounce it? It's like a human history, human future kind of book. And then I have The Secret History by Donna Tartt, another highly anticipated read of mine. So those are the books I got for Christmas. But I also have so many books on my bookshelf that's just off camera here that I have not read. And my goal is to get through a lot of them. So I'm setting a goal for myself to read 20 novels, because I read 21 books this year, but some of them were graphic novels, manga, comics, audiobooks. I want to physically read 20 novels, and that's my goal. That's my number one goal. And I think my most doable. Finally, these two are kind of connected, but I want to make more of an effort to spend time with my loved ones, because I have a very bad habit of isolating for a really long period of time, because it's where I'm most comfortable is isolating myself, which maybe isn't healthy. That might not be healthy, but I want to make more of an effort to catch up with my family more often, call them for no reason, just to chat, go visit them, that kind of stuff. And those are my goals. Yeah. Woo! We made it. 25 minutes into the episode and we finally finished talking about all the things we wanted to talk about. So now I can ramble for 5 minutes or so and close up this episode. And this year, as we've discussed, has been a roller coaster. I want to thank you for joining me for the last quarter of it. I'm looking forward to more episodes in the future. Maybe, I didn't write this on my goal list, but I'd like to maybe have a guest on in 2024. I don't know who yet, and I don't know what we'll talk about, but I think it'd be fun to have someone to bounce off of as well. I've been sitting in this chair this entire episode and I did not acknowledge that I got a new chair for Christmas. Goodbye back pain. This chair was from my lovely boyfriend, so shout out to him. But yeah, it'd be really nice to bounce off of someone. So maybe we'll have a guest on the podcast. That'd be super cool. So, as it's the end of the year, the next episode 15, will be in 2024. I don't even know what we're going to talk about, honestly. I'm hoping that enough will happen in the next 2 weeks that we will have something to discuss, because episode 15 will be out on the 13th of January, which I will be on a trip, so that will be pre-recorded, and classes are supposed to start that week, so maybe we'll talk about, my school situation, the courses I'm taking, my initial thoughts and such. We'll see. And then episode 16, we'll talk about the trip, because I have a feeling I'm going to have quite a bit to say about it. I'm so excited. I can't believe it's less than 2 weeks away now. How many days? Wait, is it 29th today that I'm filming this? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 days, y'all. Not including today that I'm filming. That's so exciting. I can't wait. Okay. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for a lovely 2023. You guys, this podcast has been one of my highlights for this year. I've always wanted to start a podcast. I've talked about that a million times, I think. But truly and honestly, having this podcast has been one of my favorite things ever. Like, I'm so happy I finally pulled the trigger and made this podcast happen. Who knows, maybe 2024 will see the rebirth of my YouTube channel and I'll actually be consistent with it. But if you know me, you know that I have too many hobbies and then some get thrown away. But the podcast is here to stay. The podcast is here to stay. Again, if you have any ideas for topics or guests, or you want to connect in any way, the podcast's email is in the show notes or in the description of the YouTube video. It is talkingnonpod@gmail.com. Feel free to send whatever you like. Yeah, that's everything. That's everything. Oh my god, I'm dying. You ever just breathe wrong? Because I just did. On that note, I'll see you next year. Have a great night, day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. I'll see you in episode 15 in 2024. Wow. Okay, bye.